There's a reason people underestimate you, why they talk over you, test your patience, push your limits, and question your worth. It's not because you're weak, it's because you seem harmless. You reveal too much too soon, care too openly, and seek to be liked before being respected. In a world that plays by Machiavellian rules, being liked without being feared is as good as being invisible. The world doesn't fear kindness, it fears the unknown. You've been taught your entire life to be seen as a decent person. Smile more. Be approachable, be friendly first, be easy to talk to. But here's the problem, people don't respect decent people, they exploit them. What's visible is predictable. And what's predictable can be manipulated. Machiavelli understood this, his writings weren't meant to comfort but to caution, a leader who isn't feared is always at risk. This doesn't mean you should turn to aggression, it means you must become unreadable. In a room full of loud voices, the one who stays silent is the one everyone notices, not because they expect a quip, but because they sense something they can't pin down. That's the aim, to be observed, not for attention, but for caution. When you're not a threat, you're a tool. Reflect on your life, how many times were you ignored until you stepped away? How many times did people come back only after you went quiet? How many respected your boundaries only after you enforced them with distance? That's because you were playing the nice game while they were playing the power game. They knew you'd explain, forgive, stay, apologize first, never push back. Once someone knows you won't push back, they push harder, and they win. Machiavelli saw this in politics, you see it in your relationships, your workplace, even your own home. People don't test those they perceive as dangerous, they test those who are emotionally open, knowing your empathy will hold you back before your pride does. But once you become a threat, even quietly, they hesitate before speaking. They rethink their tone, prepare more carefully, pause before crossing you. Why? Because now you might not snap. But you might strike. That's the power of the unspoken. They expect you to react, that's how they gauge control. Can they make you flinch? Can they make you justify yourself? Can they make you chase? Can they make you soften? Every time you do, they mark you as safe. Every time you don't, they mark you as dangerous. Dangerous doesn't mean reckless, it means unreadable. Machiavelli knew that the moment people can predict your emotions, they'll shape your future to suit their needs, not yours. But when they can't, they wait, they watch, they comply. You've spent your life trying to be loved first, now try being quietly feared, not with threats or noise, but with unpredictability, silence, and the refusal to bend on demand. The person who enters with a smile is forgettable. But the person who enters with no need to speak becomes a presence, and presence lingers longer than words. Machiavelli never drew a sword unless he'd already won through perception. In the real world, it's not about what you are, it's about what people think you're capable of. You don't need to be dangerous, you need to be perceived as dangerous. How do you achieve that without saying a word? You control your visibility, your energy, your silence. In every room. One rule holds, people fear what they don't understand, and they respect what they fear. Step 1, never reveal your full hand. The loud ones show everything, their ambitions, insecurities, plans. Emotional triggers. They talk, they prove, they posture. The more they reveal, the easier it is to outmaneuver them. Machiavelli didn't teach openness, he taught restraint. If they can read you, they can replace you. If they can't, they prepare for you. So, say less, react slowly, keep your intentions veiled. Not to confuse, but to control how you're perceived. In a world where everyone clamors to be seen, the one who can't be defined is the one they fixate on. Step 2, don't defend, don't explain. Nothing undermines strength faster than defensiveness. If someone criticizes you and you justify yourself, you confirm a weakness. If they call you aloof and you defend your silence, you reveal you care more than they thought. Every explanation you offer signals one thing: they still have emotional access to you. Machiavelli would nod, smile faintly, and say, "Noted." That's how you become a threat: you hear everything and give nothing back. Step 3. Send mixed signals deliberately. A threat doesn't need to be aggressive, it needs to be unpredictable. People don't fear what they understand, they fear what's inconsistent. Machiavelli would praise an ally one day and sideline them the next. He'd smile in conversation, then freeze you out without explanation. Why? Because inconsistency creates unease, and unease leads to deference. You don't need to be cruel. You just need to be enigmatic enough that people stay respectful, wary of the side of you they haven't yet met. This is what we might call mystique. Machiavelli called it a necessary illusion. Step 4. Stay composed when others lose control. The ultimate intimidation is self-control amid chaos. When people gossip, stay silent. When they shout, blink slowly. When they panic, speak calmly. When they insult, offer a slight smile. That's how you signal one thing: you can't rattle me. If you can't rattle me, you can't move me. If you can't move me, you'd better be cautious about what I might move next. That stillness, that refusal to escalate, transforms you from a participant to a presence others orbit. Machiavelli would rather utter one sharp phrase at the end of a dispute than offer 100 defenses during it. The fewer words you need, the weightier each one becomes. When people can't predict your words, they adjust their behavior before you even speak. That's not conversation, it's command. When people think of a threat, they imagine aggression. When they think of dominance, they imagine control. But Machiavelli knew better. He wasn't fixated on power through force but through presence. The most feared person in any room is the one who does the least yet is noticed the most. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Not because fear makes you cruel, but because fear makes others respect your silence. You don't need to lash out, you only need to make people believe you might, and that belief is stronger than any argument you could ever make. Those who pose no threat are invited to be disrespected. Let's talk psychology. When someone doesn't fear losing you, they take your time, interrupt you, demand more than they give. Expect explanations, and ask for favors without reciprocating. Your presence carries no weight. You're safe, predictable, kind, accommodating. In a Machiavellian world, these aren't virtues, they're weaknesses begging to be tested. So, what does a threat look like? Not a weapon, not shouting, not vengeance. A threat is silence after disrespect. Calm in the face of gossip, unpredictability without emotion, leaving a room and making people feel the void. That's fear, and fear is your leverage. You're not just a person, you're a consequence. Once people experience your detachment, your withdrawal, your refusal to chase, they start associating your silence with a shift in their world. When you stop responding, they reflect. When you say less, they overthink. When you're absent, they notice. Your absence becomes a mirror, not because you punish them, but because they realize, without their validation, I don't know how to measure myself. That's psychological warfare. Machiavelli didn't need armies to inspire fear, he needed silence, distance, uncertainty. When people can't predict your next move, they either retreat or try to win your favor again, and both outcomes serve you. Build the wolf, kill the dog. There's a reason phrases like, kill the dog in you. Machiavelli demands the wolf resonate widely. Everyone knows the pain of being the loyal dog, faithful even when betrayed, friendly even when mocked, obedient even when ignored. Everyone wants to become the wolf. But here's the truth, the wolf doesn't bark. It watches, and when it moves, no one is ready. That's who you must become. You don't bark, you don't explain. You don't beg. You calculate, you withhold, You let others feel the chill of your presence without raising your voice. The unforgettable are often quiet. Loud people are remembered in the moment. Quiet people linger in memory. After you leave a room, people replay what they can't pin down. Why didn't they say anything? Were they judging us? What did that silence mean? They can't move on because you never gave them closure, and when people can't close the file, they keep rereading it. That's how threats are born, not from action, but from potential. You don't need to say a word to dominate a room, because most power isn't spoken, it's signaled through presence, through what you don't do when everyone else is scrambling to be seen. Machiavelli didn't bark orders, he observed. He let others reveal themselves, then, without raising his voice, made them fear the space between his words. Want to become a threat? Start with daily habits that make people question your reach. Habit 1, never be the first to react. When someone says something provocative or baiting, pause. Others rush to respond, defend, or have the last word. Not you. You wait, letting their energy dissipate against your stillness. Why? Because the one who reacts first is seen as weaker. The one who waits is the one whose move everyone anticipates. Machiavelli would rather let someone think he didn't hear them than respond mid-sentence. Because the pause isn't hesitation, it's calculation. People fear calculation more than confrontation. Habit 2, speak slower, say less, leave early. This sounds simple, but it reshapes how you're perceived. Speaking slowly shows control. Saying less shows value. Leaving early creates mystery. Most people speak to be understood, but power seeks interpretation. You want people to wonder, what did they mean? Were they agreeing or warning me? Why did they leave when the mood shifted? Machiavelli unnerved people without raising his voice. Because he never stayed long enough to be fully known. What they can't define, they begin to fear. Habit 3, withdraw to reinforce presence. The most commanding people aren't always present. But when they are, everyone feels it. Why? Because they don't overstay. You need to step back from social spaces, conversations, arguments, even meetings, before your presence becomes ordinary. The dog is always there, the wolf appears, then vanishes. When the wolf vanishes, everyone wonders where it went. This is how Machiavelli wielded power through scarcity. Be the one they notice is gone, not the one they expect to stay. Habit 4, never over-explain your moves. Explaining feels natural, you want to be clear, honest, understood. But Machiavelli knew every explanation chips away at power. You said no. Say no. Changed your mind. Let it stand. Walked away. Stay gone. No reasoning, no emotional wrapping. No justifying your boundaries. The moment you explain, you're defending. The moment you defend, you're no longer commanding, you're negotiating, and a threat never negotiates. Habit 5. Maintain emotional neutrality in social games. People will test your emotional core. They'll say provocative things to see if you'll correct them, comment on your silence to make you speak, flirt, prod, or guilt trip to crack your neutrality. Why? Because they sense that unreadable energy, and it unsettles them. They try to break it because if they can't, they'll assume you're stronger than they are. Let them assume. Smile, observe, withdraw. The more they try to read you, the more power you gain. Machiavelli didn't just act powerful. He cultivated rituals of restraint, movements of control, a daily posture that whispered, "You don't know what I'm capable of, and you never will. But cross me, and you might find out." There's a fine line between being a mystery and being ignored, between silence that commands and silence that fades. Machiavelli's genius wasn't in choosing fear over respect. It was in balancing both, so that when you said nothing, your name still echoed in the room. Fear without respect breeds resistance. If people only fear you, They'll pretend to obey while plotting behind your back, comply publicly but undermine privately, submit on the surface but harbor resentment. That's fleeting power. It keeps people in line briefly, but it fuels their desire for your downfall. Machiavelli knew this. That's why he didn't just demand silence, he earned respect through unpredictability. Fear must be layered with controlled admiration, not love, not likability, but reverence, the kind that says, they could ruin me, but haven't. Yet respect without fear breeds entitlement. If people only respect you, they'll praise you openly, admire your leadership, trust your competence. But soon, they'll demand more than they give. They'll interrupt you, expect kindness as a given. You become liked, not watched. When people stop watching you carefully, they start underestimating your reach. The solution: tension. The most powerful people carry tension behind them, not drama. But tension. That subtle sense that you're kind but not to be trifled with, calm but not to be toyed with, silent but not asleep. This tension keeps people on edge in the right way. Because they don't know how much of what you show is real. The moment people start calculating your depth, they stop trying to control you. How to build that tension? Machiavelli would do it like this. Be consistent in control, inconsistent in emotion. You're always composed, but not always warm. Sometimes observant. Sometimes unreadable. Sometimes faintly amused, never angry, never passive. Just collected, but not entirely accessible. That unpredictability keeps them off balance. Give one moment of precision. Then disappear. You don't speak often, but when you do, it's incisive. You end a dispute with one line. You defuse tension with one sentence. You correct a mistake once and leave it there. Then you're gone. You leave the conversation open-ended, don't repeat yourself, and that single moment lingers longer than 1,000 speeches. That's lasting tension. Make people feel the weight of losing you without threatening to leave. Machiavelli never begged for attention or threatened to walk away. But he made people feel the void when he withdrew. You stop responding. You stop nodding. You become professionally distant. You leave the room early without explanation, no closure, just absence. They'll feel it because your presence had value they hadn't accounted for. Now they do, and next time, they tread more carefully. Let praise exist without confirmation. When people compliment you, don't melt, don't deflect, don't mirror it back. Nod, hold eye contact, perhaps offer a faint smile. But don't validate their praise with submission. Why? Because accepting praise without emotional dependence signals something unsettling. You already know your worth, and their words were a courtesy, not a necessity. This is how you walk the line. You let people respect your stillness but fear the mystery beneath it. That tension is how Machiavelli would rule today. The loud get noticed, the quiet get remembered. Machiavelli didn't just want to command people in the moment, he wanted to linger in their minds long after he left the room. True power isn't about dominance, it's about a presence that endures in your absence. The most dangerous presence is the one that never explains itself. Men are quicker to forget the death of a father than the loss of their inheritance. Now ask yourself, what kind of person must you become to feel like an inheritance when you're gone? Let's build that version of you, step by step. Obsession isn't created by availability, it's created by distance. People don't obsess over what they fully understand. They obsess over what felt close but never fully belonged to them. That's how you become unforgettable, by being present enough to feel real but distant enough to feel untouchable. You offer a moment of eye contact, a word that cuts deeper than it should, a calmness that unsettles the emotionally unsteady, then you vanish. That absence becomes a loop they can't close. Strategy 1: don't give them what they expect. Most people reveal themselves entirely within minutes, overly kind, overly expressive, overly available. You, however, smile less, speak slowly. Offer only what's necessary. You create a contrast so stark it forces people to adjust around you. They recalibrate their tone, their behavior, even their breathing, not because you demanded it, but because your energy shifted the dynamic. Now you've left a mark. Strategy 2, let them project, then withhold. People will try to label you, they're intense, they're mysterious. They're hard to read. Let them. Once they start projecting, they start obsessing. They'll replay your silence, dissect your expressions. Invent stories to explain the parts of you they can't access. Don't correct them, their imagination is now working for you, and the more confused they are, the more they keep coming back. Strategy 3, leave them mid-sentence, metaphorically or literally. Most people crave closure, full explanations, clean exits, a neat conclusion. You, however, end conversations just before they feel complete. You disappear just before they're ready. You offer silence just after they expect a response. Why? Because that incompleteness becomes a hook. They'll revisit the moment, trying to finish what you started. That's how presence becomes obsession. Strategy 4, protect your inner world like a fortress. They ask what drives you. Say, I'm focused. They ask if you're okay. Say, always adapting. They ask what you want. Say, that depends on the day. You give hints, never headlines, because the moment someone knows your why, they start plotting your how. But when your inner world feels like a fortress, they stop knocking and start watching, wondering, thinking of you long after you've moved on. Machiavelli's genius wasn't in being remembered as a great man, it was in being remembered as a man who could have done anything and chose when, how, and if. That if is the hook, that's what they can't forget. You've reached the point where silence is no longer a tactic, it's your default. You don't hide what you feel, you simply decide when, where, and if it's worth showing. Machiavelli's ultimate form wasn't loud or brutal, it was disciplined. True power isn't when they obey you out of fear. It's when they adjust their behavior just in case you're watching. The unreadable cannot be cornered. Once they understand you, they start managing you. But once they realize they'll never fully grasp you, they abandon control and give you space, because you are now unpredictable, and what's unpredictable becomes untouchable.